My whole life had been about this. Every morning, every meal, every hour of training was for the Olympic team. I was a gymnast, and the dream of gold was my destiny. I remembered the feeling of flying through the air, perfect and strong. My body was my temple, honed by years of discipline. I felt a quiet confidence, a deep certainty that I was on the right path. This was my purpose, my only path to a life of true meaning. Liam, my brother, always seemed proud of me. He'd clap the loudest at my local competitions, offering water and towels. "You'll make it, Alara," he'd say, his eyes bright. But sometimes a flicker of something else would cross his face, too quick to name. A shadow that came and went. I pushed it away. He was my brother, my family. He loved me, or so I believed. Pre-assessment training began, more intense than ever. I pushed my limits, but something felt off. My usual boundless energy was fading faster. My muscles, always quick to respond, felt heavy. I brushed it off as initial strain, telling myself it was just my body adjusting to the new demands. But a small worry, like a pebble in my shoe, started to form. My diet was precise, measured to the gram. My training schedule was followed perfectly, without a single missed session. Yet my strength scores were dropping. My recovery times were longer. The numbers on the charts, usually a steady climb, were now jagged lines heading downwards. It made no sense. I felt confused, a knot tightening in my stomach. What was I doing wrong? Liam would find me after a tough session, looking concerned. "You seem tired, Alara," he'd say, his voice soft. "Maybe you're pushing too hard. It's okay to slow down." He meant well, I thought, but his words chipped away at my resolve. He made me question my own strength, my own dedication. It was a strange kind of comfort that left me feeling weaker, not stronger. The initial aptitude assessments came. I walked in feeling a mix of nerves and determination. But my performance was dismal. I stumbled on routines I knew by heart. My timing was off. My coaches looked at me with worried, confused expressions. I felt a cold dread creep into my heart. My lifelong dream, suddenly, felt very far away, almost out of reach. I trained harder, ate even cleaner, hoping to force my body back into line. I cut out every tiny indulgence, pushed past the pain and exhaustion. But the more I pushed, the worse it got. My body felt like a foreign object betraying me. I was constantly tired, constantly sore. Despair began to settle in, a heavy blanket over my once unshakable spirit. Why was this happening? One evening, while preparing my specialized protein shake, I noticed something. The seal on my protein powder tub seemed slightly disturbed. A tiny tear, almost invisible. I dismissed it at first, thinking I must have done it. But then I remembered a small scratch on my vaulting horse's padding, a place I was sure had been perfect the day before. A prickle of unease ran down my spine. It was probably nothing. Right. Liam called me that night, his voice full of feigned sympathy. "I'm so sorry about the assessments, Alara. It's just so tough, isn't it? Not everyone is cut out for that level." He said it like he was trying to help, but his words felt like tiny knives. He even mentioned my struggles to our parents later, as if he was merely sharing concern. I saw the pity in their eyes. It felt like he was celebrating my failure subtly, quietly. That night I couldn't sleep. The disturbed seal, the scratch on my equipment, Liam's sympathy, it all played in my mind. My body wasn't just failing. Something was actively working against me. A cold, hard resolve settled in my chest. I would find out what. I would investigate every detail, every shadow. This wasn't just my body breaking down. This was a fight, and I was going to uncover the truth. The cold resolve from last night stayed with me. I bought tiny cameras, easy to hide. I placed one near my protein powder. I placed another by my vaulting horse. My heart pounded with a mix of fear and determination. I felt like a detective in my own home. This was the only way to truly know. My home no longer felt safe. Days later, I watched the footage. My breath caught in my throat. It was Liam, my own brother. I watched him carefully loosen a bolt on my vaulting horse. Then he poured a fine powder into my protein shake. The shadowy flicker I had seen in his eyes, the subtle comments, it all made sense now. A wave of ice-cold betrayal washed over me. It was stronger than any physical pain. I waited until he was alone. "Liam," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "We need to talk." He tried to smile. The smile did not reach his eyes. I told him what I suspected. He laughed. It was a short, sharp sound. "Alara, you're imagining things," he said. "You're just stressed." He tried to make me feel crazy. His act did not work anymore. I felt a quiet fury building inside me. I did not argue. I just plugged my laptop into the TV. The video played. Liam's face went white. He tried to grab the computer. I held it firm. He started to stammer. Then he yelled. Finally, he broke down. I just wanted to be seen," he sobbed. His confession brought no comfort. It only brought a deeper ache. The truth was raw and ugly. The words "I just wanted to be seen" echoed in my mind. Years of subtle digs, years of fake support. It was all because of his own hidden pain. It was a profound, soul-crushing realization. My brother, my own flesh and blood, had systematically destroyed my life. He did it out of jealousy. The depth of his malice was a wound. It went deeper than any fall or injury. My trust was shattered beyond repair. I gathered every piece of evidence. The footage. The lab results from my contaminated supplements. My deteriorating medical reports. I presented it to my parents first, then my coaches, then the Olympic Committee. My parents looked at me with shock, then disbelief. "Liam would never," my mother whispered. It was hard for them to see the truth. I felt a heavy weight. I knew I had to break their hearts to save my own. The truth, slowly and painfully, came out. The committee launched a full investigation. Liam was publicly exposed. The news spread like wildfire. He was disgraced. He was shunned by our community. My coaches apologized. Their faces were etched with regret. I was vindicated. My name was cleared, but the victory felt hollow. My dream was still shattered. My family was broken. I felt a strange mix of relief and profound sadness. My body was weak. My spirit was bruised. I started physical therapy, not for gymnastics, but just to feel strong again. I talked to a counselor. I tried to heal the invisible wounds Liam had inflicted. Each small step, each restored muscle, was a victory. I was reclaiming my body. I was reclaiming my mind. I was reclaiming my identity. It was a slow, arduous climb, but I was determined to find my strength again. Vindication was not enough. Liam had stolen years of my life. He stole my purpose. He stole my sense of self. I began to plan, not a physical revenge, but a systematic, public exposure of his true character. I would expose him to everyone who had ever admired him. I would ensure his reputation was permanently stained. His public mask would be forever shattered. He would face lasting consequences. My aim was not just justice. It was a complete reversal of his hidden desires. The Olympic dream was gone, but the discipline and the drive remained. I dedicated myself to a new purpose. I would help others identify and escape insidious manipulation. I wrote a book. I shared my story. I became a voice for those silenced by family betrayal. It was not the life I planned, but it was a life of profound purpose. I found strength in my new path. I found a way to use my pain to help others. The bitterness remained. It was a faint echo, but it was now overshadowed by a quiet, powerful sense of healing. I was building a future, brick by painful brick. I was finally free.